Spectrum wants to hear your views. You can SMS at any time during the show. Type Spectrum, leave a type in your contribution and name, and send to 7197. Your views, our interview. Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
A very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio 1 and Spectrum,
pardon me for that. We're going to be reviewing some of the issues that we'll look at tonight. The state of governance. Well, President Museveni will be 1 year next week since he was sworn in, actually on the 12th of May. So we're going to look at what he has been able to do in 1 year, what he's not been able to do, and what the perspective looks like 4 years down the road. We look at the budget coming next month. Important data going to be released by Finance Minister Maria Chwanka. We look at the outlook for that budget. Some people think it's going to rise to 10.3 trillion shillings, slightly higher than last year's 9.8 trillion shillings budget. A small budget for a nation like Uganda. Some companies have bigger budgets. We'll talk about the Karamoja situation, the state of affairs in that place. The NRM dominated Karamoja Parliamentary group today raised its voice accusing the NRM government of neglecting the region. We'll talk about that. And Kampala, the city authority, they also marked 1 year recently. Our guests tonight: Honorable Simon Pitt, Honorable Megio Achia, Member of Parliament for Pian constituency in Karamoja. You're most welcome, Honorable Achia.
Thank you, listeners. I'm happy to be here again.
Yes, right. We're also joined by Mr. Charles Rwomushana, former head of political intelligence at State House. You're most welcome, Mr. Rwomushana.
The Almighty God is great.
Also joined by Mr. Kintu Nyago, Deputy Principal Private Secretary to the President. You're most welcome, Mr. Nyago.
Thank you, Edmond.
We're joined by Mr. Nicolas Opiyo as well. He's a legal consultant at AKIJUL and a pundit on political and social issues. You're most welcome, Nicolas.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to you, Edmond, and good evening to my colleagues. Most delighted to be with the Vice Chairperson of the Budget Committee, the Honorable Achia. He's a difficult man to catch, but I'm glad to be with him today.
Well, I'm seated next to him. There are not many people I know from his region, so I'm glad to sit with him, and
I think you are looking for me in the wrong place because I have an office.
All right. Let's talk about Honorable Achia. Tomorrow, President Museveni will be marking 1 year. Give us your own assessment. Has he done a good job, or could he have done better?
I think this term of office of His Excellency the President has come at a time when there are a lot of challenges, especially on the global economic scene, in terms of the financial crisis, the issues in the Africa, especially the global issues in Africa, issues of security, the Great Lakes region, concerns in Somalia. And I think it has not been a very excellent period, although I think we were unsurprised the way our economy has weathered this kind of challenges, especially with regard to the financial crisis. We're able to get through these difficult times, mostly cushioned by our trading partners, the revenue we got from our partners, particularly from Southern Sudan, the Congo, with Burundi, Rwanda. So I think we are starting to open. It makes meaning now when we talk about the East African integration of how Uganda managed to get through this financial crisis through opening up itself and its markets to the region.
All right, you mentioned Southern Sudan, but as a matter of fact, this might not be publicly known, but Sudan is the second largest buyer of our coffee after the European Union. That's a fact that not many people might know. Sudan is an important trading partner. That is Khartoum, an important trading partner of ours. They're the second biggest buyer of our coffee after the European Union put together. Charles Rwomushana, I know you are a very staunch admirer of President Museveni. You worked very closely with him. Give us your own assessment 1 year down the road.
To me, the most important achievement of President Museveni is that Uganda still is. Because according to the plan of Dr. Chiza Besigye and group, which has been F4C now, I don't recall what it is. Immediately after inauguration, they had wanted to destroy the country. So the marches were towards igniting the smolderings they had created, to have frames of revolt leap skyward, and then have the country cease to exist. More especially that our country is composed of tribes. You know, its foundation was not that very strong. But he has successfully defended the country. He has successfully secured the country, and it is still intact. But the most important thing that he has done it at the least cost possible. The cost has been manageable. We have not had refugees streaming out of Uganda. We have not had a lot of deaths as had been envisaged, because the plan was that we provoke the security forces and we kill people, like the attempt on Entebbe Road when there was inauguration, and there were many visiting heads of states, and you bring crowds of people on Entebbe Road, well knowing that they will be in confrontation with the security detail of the visiting heads of states, and then throwing stones. So the intention was that the military and the security commit mistakes, massacre people, and then NATO and the other forces come in the way it was happened with. So it did not happen. Marchers will have had some loss of lives, but it's not as big as they had envisaged. So in my own opinion, I salute him that he has managed the command and control of the security forces, and we have achieved that objective. The other problems we have are the problems other countries have. Even America, Britain, France have them. But the way they handle challenges, like the way France handled the challenge of the killing of the Jews when someone shot the Jewish children. You have seen what happened in Yemen, where all these problems have been. So that we survived this fact that it did not ignite the smolderings into frames of revolt, I think it's a huge, huge achievement.
All right, of course we'll go deeper on the President Museveni later. Listeners, this is Spectrum on Radio 1. Tonight we're reviewing the week with an interesting panel tonight. Two men, both who have worked in State House, one past, one present. We have someone from Karamoja, we'll have another man from Karamoja later, and we'll have Mr. Nicolas Opiyo, legal consultant, with very insightful views. You can text us to contribute 7197, that is Spectrum, message, question or comment 7197, as you might not be able to call in tonight. Nicolas, what's your assessment? 12 months.
Well, first of all, just to discount what Charles said, I do not think it was the interest of anyone to destroy Uganda as a country. I think that what you saw, the expressions you saw, were an attempt to challenge a party that was in power. That doesn't translate into challenging Uganda, the country. Uganda is always going to be here, whatever happens. But just to respond specifically to what you've said, well, my response is twofold. The first is regional challenges. President Museveni's third term in power opened with very interesting regional developments that have presented a lot of challenges to this country. It sent us back to the drawing board. I mean, events in Sudan, events in Congo, events in the Central African Republic with the LRA, events in Kenya have in many ways impacted upon how the state has functioned over the last 1 year. And I must admit, in that front, we do seem to have a very proactive arrangement in terms of running the state. I mean, you know, Uganda bought jets. You know, when these jets were bought,
6 of them, brand new.
You know, when these jets were bought, we thought that it was meaningless. I think that some of these things must have been envisaged, and therefore we are prepared to respond to these.
Let's get that very, very clear.
Threats.
You are exonerating President Museveni. People thought he was being wasteful when he bought the 6 jets for $700 million. You're exonerating him now.
Well, I do think that the way he went about it was a bit, I think I have concerns about them. But I think on the overall, I mean, if you look at the bigger picture, I think that being prepared to respond to things like, what happened in Sudan, or what is happening right now in Sudan, is important for our country. He could have done it better. He could have sought approvals from Parliament. He could have, the fact that he sidestepped Parliament, and ran rough shoulders over, people who were supposed to give him the permission to do that, is itself, a concern, and you can't wish that away. But the fact that we are actually prepared to respond to this regional development is a good thing. But on the domestic front, I also think that never before.
There's another point I'd like us to get. Yeah. You're raising important points there. President Museveni was much criticized about the jets. Many people thought it was wrong. Now you're exonerating him because of time. Secondly, when he ordered the signing of the contracts, the farming down of shares from Talo to Sinok and whatever, many people said he should not have done that. But it turned out eventually that he probably was right, because oil was eventually discovered in Kenya. So you think surprise is ahead of some of us?
First of all, I'm not exonerating him. I think that he's made good decisions in that respect. But I think that the fact that he's run rough shoulders over Parliament, he's run rough shoulders, speaks to somebody who has not been very convincing in trying to get people on board. And that's where my concern is.
All right.
And that I can't wish away. Now, on the domestic front, I think that never before has the beginning of a term been as chaotic. in the 26-27 years the president has actually been in power, we've had, for the first time, ministers resigning. We've had the entire first year of the NRM in power this time occupied in dealing with one crisis after another. Crisis from both internal, but also crisis from outside the party. Internal, you've had people who are, standing up and speaking to the powers that be, really, and asking tough questions of the president within the party. You've had people now being labeled rebel MPs. You've had, huge friction between the prime minister and the speaker of parliament. It has played out in the media. One only wonders what happened behind the curtain. But also from outside, you've had a huge challenge to the legitimacy of President Museveni's reign in power. The opposition, like they did in the past, didn't go to court this time to challenge the elections, and chose to take this challenge to the people of this country and organized, popular uprisings and demonstrations.
Yes.
The reaction to them, even if Charles says the success, it is kept the country in order.
Okay.
But some of the reactions, in my view, have gone way overboard and crossed the line to blatant human rights violations.
Okay.
And then what is really troubling is the dismissive attitude towards some of these reactions. I think that the response should have been to punish people who have soiled the image of this country, to punish these officers who were seen grappling women's breasts, who were seen shooting and killing. Well, it's a man. It doesn't make it any better whether it's a man or a woman, really. The fact is that somebody was assaulted.
All right, Mr. Chintu, I cut you short because of the time. Mr. Kintu, Nyago, we had 20 strikes in 1 year. It was a tough time for Mr. President.
It's a justification for grouping somebody's breast.
With a hairy hand.
Well, I've seen quite a few guys who are doing that. But equally importantly, sir, is the fact that the NRM has shown its resilience and versatility because of, party cohesion, despite some of the challenges that have been mentioned. And success at this one course, because we find that, they won overwhelmingly, and that large number of MPs and so forth, that management and so forth was a challenge, but they have managed to stay cohesive. Not many, the UPC failed in that. In the 60s, you find that the party failed to be cohesive. Mr. Obote had to arrest ministers without trial and detain them in...
Here we only arrested a vice president.
No, but he arrested the Secretary General, he arrested the Minister of Health, he arrested Mr. Ngobi, he arrested Mr. Magezi, Mr. Chidia. These are very powerful people. But none of that happened. Or in Malawi, Mr. Bingu Mthalika had to expel the vice president because of similar misunderstandings. Now, so that's a plus. Secondly, the fight against corruption. Because, is the glass half empty or half full? In my view, it's very positive. You have seen that this government has come out very strongly to fight against corruption, whereby not chicken thieves like in the past are being victimized, but the high and mighty. It's the high and mighty that are being dealt with. In the past, there's just chicken thieves and matoke stealers who are victimized and so forth. But now it's the high and mighty. You find former vice presidents, you find ministers resigning, you find people stepping aside, and that's not very common in this region or even in the world, in world politics. 8 cabinet ministers or something. So that's very positive. It shows you that this government, Mr. Museveni, is very committed to the fight against corruption.
Okay.
Now, furthermore, you find that the fact that there was a budget surplus to get funds and buy those jets is a positive. It's unprecedented.
We don't have a budget surplus.
No, what I'm saying is that we have surpluses in the banks, in the Bank of Uganda accounts. In the past we were in deficit. But the fact that the government has money somewhere...
We drew on our reserves, we drew them down. It's supposed to be 6 months, we brought them down to 3 months.
But the fact that they are there, I've lived in a Uganda where those were not there. For example, under General Twa, under Idi Amin, or Mwanga, and so forth. But the fact that those reserves are there, that's a plus. They didn't fall like manna from heaven. It shows very good prudent management for the economy by Mr. Museveni, and so that's a surplus. And then the fact of the strategic dimension, I won't repeat it. Mr. Opiyo has mentioned it very well, but I'll argue for that sometime ago in an article I wrote about. Now, true, some of the elements was seeking to dismantle this country. They called for a tsunami. And an attempt to mimic what took place in countries like, what is it called, the Arab Autumn or whatever, up there, which is causing all kinds of problems in I think it's the autumn in, say, Syria and Bahrain. You know, so they are trying to mimic that. Right. Uganda is not Bahrain, for heaven's sake.
Well, but we had 20 strikes in 1 year.
Whatever it is, the strikes are healthy, strikes are accepted and legitimate, but riots are not. And I mean, the fact that happened and it was contained. And look, countries have collapsed, including a superpower, the Soviet Union. It collapsed. Mr. Opiyo was saying, oh yes, or Mali this year, a few months ago. Mali is now divided between Al Qaeda and some coup plotters who have failed to move forward. Yes, now just briefly, you find that the fact that we have peace in all the four corners of this country, that's a major achievement. From Karamoja to Kisoro, from Busia to Koboko, that's a major achievement. Unprecedented since 1966. So you find that that's a major achievement. So had I been giving marks, I would have given some 70.
This has come to the
had I been giving some 70, had I been giving marks as a teacher,
what did you give him?
About 80 something.
80, and
yes. And then regional, oh yes, you know that. And then regional, I mean, this regional trade.
All right.
Look, Rwanda, DRC, Sudan are not new neighbors. Because when I was growing up, there was no trade with those countries.
Now we're selling
exactly, and that's because of deliberate policies. Deliberate policies of regional cooperation by this government.
Let's go a little bit to Karamoja. Since there's peace all around us, let's go straight away to Karamoja. Let's talk about Karamoja case. Honorable Achia, today you raised your voices saying the government has neglected you. You know, what exactly do you mean?
Partly a very big, I can't even believe that the NRM can do this. We have been promised a tarmac road. It has been in different budgets since 1996, and I have evidence.
Since 1996?
No. The president came in his campaign, said, you Karamojong, in order to transform this part of the country, you are the 10-point program, we are going to remove the guns, and he actually did. He implemented the disarmament policy, which has been largely successful. Maybe 80-90% of the guns in the hands of the peasants have been removed. Peace has returned. But this idea of transforming Karamoja, this idea of providing infrastructure, the tarmac road, you know that for the last 7 years, every year, about this time of the year, Karamoja gets cut off.
Because of the rains?
Because of the rains, the roads are so bad. We don't do anything in the dry season. And when the rains come, they find big potholes as there. We don't do much. We cannot take drugs here now. Karamoja, you cannot transport drugs. Go to Soroti, Moroto, Nana, there's Soroti, Moroto Road. So many lorries. The Shaman Kunoti was supposed to, the LC5 was supposed to be in Kampala. For some they cannot come. So many traders have lost their matoke, we depend on the food from our neighboring districts of Teso, Karamoja, naturally. And every year, every financial year, we are promised their road is going to be tarmac.
The road is coming.
It is either always in the upcoming projects, in the next project, but something happened last year. Very significant for us. In the state of the nation, the president came out strongly now now. I brought peace to Karamoja. This Karamoja of mine were running with the guns around, disturbing the neighbors, but we have not got rid of guns. This budget is going to take care of putting a tarmac road.
Yes.
We clapped, all of us, if you see, watch the video. There was an applause. Yeah. Then we said, okay, that's it. The president has said, let's wait for the budget speech. The budget speech came. And on page 21 of the budget, let me just read for purposes of clarity.
Well, maybe we'll get the details.
Yes, the details, yeah. The minister said, this year, I have allocated, because that's a designated delegated function from the president.
Yes.
I have allocated 1.2 trillion
for roads.
For 12 roads.
I think 1.2 trillion was for all the roads.
Yes, but there were identified roads for this.
And it gave a breakdown.
There's a breakdown. For this budget, for this financial year, we have not yet finished. Which is ending in May, June.
June. In a few weeks.
So
you'll have the road.
There were 12 roads. on top of the list of these roads, Moroto, Nakapipit was.
And you haven't seen it.
Things we went mobilizing everything. President visited us. Please, tell people. No, we had a meeting in the state law, in Karamoja, inform people your thing is coming finally, and we were celebrating. But somehow around September, the list was changing. The list was being revised. That you see, because of inflation and financial thing, which we understood, we had to drop some of the roads.
Yes.
So it reduced 9. And we understood. It's okay. But at least that one is number one. Oh, we are too far in with the cut from the bottom. Along the way around November, we were told, look here, if you are sleeping, we are changing, the things are changing. Someone informed us, we ran to Biandala. Biandala, what's happening? Oh, you see,
Yes,
with the resources are constrained, maybe we need you talk to, we have not signed your contract for your road.
Okay.
Maybe you need to talk to ED Undra. We went there for a meeting. So what happened? At the beginning of this year, we are not only not in the list,
Yes.
but in the coming financial year,
You're not even listed.
we are not even listed.
Well,
we are now in the list of unfunded priorities.
This is Spectrum on Radio 1. We're
So
going
there is
for a
no
break. We'll be
priorities.
back.
Unfunded
No, priorities, but described.
All right. We'll be back.
At least we are,
After the break.
We have left as everything.
The program.
You can pay, you can buy, pay your bills, pay school fees, send cash overseas, pay taxi fees and salaries, anything you need.
You can do anything with MTN Mobile Money, even pay school fees. Ask where you see the MTN Mobile Money sign or go to your MTN Mobile Money phone menu.
MTN. Everywhere you go. John, Mike and I, we go back a bit. We knew John at the beginning, working for someone else. But he was different. He had vision, saw opportunities. He started working towards his goal, opened his own garage, and worked, learning the hard way. His reputation spread. Trust, consistency, quality. Soon people were coming to him from all parts. He made himself and his whole street prosper, and also helped friends, seeing potential in people and helping them on. But John never shouts about all his success. He's just who he is. Special.
So here's to men like John, who make a difference, who enjoy Nile Special, the rich, satisfying taste from the source. Nile Special. You've earned it.
Not for sale to persons under 18.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back on Spectrum. Tonight we're reviewing the week. Our guests, Honorable Rwomushana, Member of Parliament for Pian constituency in Karamoja. You've heard him speak before we broke off. Mr. Charles Rwomushana, former head of political intelligence at State House. Mr. Nyago, deputy principal private secretary to the president. Mr. Nicolas Opiyo, a legal consultant at AKIJUL, also Pundit on political and social issues. And well, we've also just been joined by Honorable Simon Peter Aleper, Moroto Municipality MP and spokesman of all the NRM Karamoja Parliamentary Group. You can contribute by sending a text message. Send it to 7197. That is Spectrum. Message, question or comment. Send it to 7197. Nicholas, let's talk about the management of this budget. We expect a new budget coming before the end of next month. It kind of is a level budget. We've had very slowed growth. We had a recession in the second quarter of last year, 3.2% coming down on the backdrop of a 3.2% growth. What kind of budget can we expect when you look at the breakdown? Is it a good budget? Teachers have complained about salaries. Other workers don't get salary raises. Do we have our priorities right?
You see, Edmond, again, just to re-emphasize the point that Honorable Chair made, that budgets are made, plans are made, and not implemented. I have become a little bit more, disillusioned by these high-sounding budget speeches that at the end of the year do not reflect exactly what we said on the day we are doing the budget. So I don't take the budget really, I think, as a serious, because see in the past, when I was growing up, of course I'm one of those who have grown up under President Museveni. I've known no other president. Budget readings were a big occasion. In my primary school, the headmaster would even bring a radio, and the P7 class would gather around the radio and listen to the budget. It was significant. Traders would the whole afternoon wouldn't be selling in Gulu town. They would listen to the budget. It was important.
Partly because there was state control from the state set prices. Let's get the perspective. The government set prices. Sugar will cost this from midnight tonight and so on. Beer will cost prices. There was shortages, so there was that regulation.
I agree. The point that I want to make is that the budget was important.
Go on.
But now it doesn't seem to be as important. People don't look forward to the budget, because even if the budget is passed, provisions are made for implementation.
system. Let's get that, because I mean, right now we know what inflation is like. We know the interest rates. Those are things we don't expect the budget to read out for us. We actually know the growth rate. We know what the growth rate for this year is going to be. It's around 4.2%.
Sure.
If it changes a great deal, it's going to. So liberalization of information has changed a great deal, even of the economy.
It has, and I have no doubt about that. But the thing is, budgets are supposed to be a reflection of what we want to do the next year.
Yes.
We must be able to read trends and be able to read that there might be problems in provide for shocks.
Yes. But we don't do that. We blow our budget afterwards.
Well, I mean, the budget is all blown up. It's half funded by other people. The point is then that we do not seem to be planning, or we don't seem to be planning adequately to be able to cushion the shocks that come after the budget. But even then, the budget discipline in this country is next to zero.
Mr. Kintu, why can't we discipline ourselves? We like these things, but why can't we hold out?
It's all a matter of perspective. Because I've lived in a country, I've lived in this same country whereby at one time we had inflation of about 500%. I mean, like in the late 70s and during Obote's time, after he fell out with the IMF, I think around 1985 or so.
So I think the highest it went was 240%.
Something that's not a very commendable, whatever achievement. So, but now there is certainty, and there's a lot of government discipline. I'm told, well, the fact is that there's cash. It's a cash budget, so you cannot just spend as you want.
They no longer print money. That's one thing we know they know.
And then it's a cash budget. I mean, you don't just begin, spending money you don't have. But much more importantly, the budget is still a very important tool, and people look much towards it. Possibly, my brother has become richer, or whatever, and he's a jet set. He's handling the country, and so forth. Because government is the biggest supplier and biggest buyer of whatever, of goods and services. So many suppliers, many people have an interest in getting to know what's going to happen. And I can assure you, Mr. Edmond and the listeners, you can literally hear a pin fall in Kampala when Mr. Museveni is reading the budget in Parliament.
Charles Rwomushana, budget discipline specifically, and the quality of the budget. We're not spending where we're supposed to spend, some people think.
I think it's important to relate this to the complaint from the Member of Parliament from Karamoja. We run a cash budget, and that's why actually there is a problem, and it's run on quarterly. The release is always quarterly. So you must spend money that you have. The guiding principle, of course, is the budget, but it must be money that you have.
Started in 1992.
Yeah, and there is money that you must spend. That is money for salaries that are drawn from the consolidated fund. But you must spend that money. That money must be there. Now, and that's why then you have emergencies like the nodding disease.
7 billion is not too much.
No, there are many other emergencies that did not come
less than 0.1%.
There are other emergencies.
0.01%.
There are other emergencies that did not need to come through political activism. This one was an emergency, but it's highly publicized because of politics, because it came through. It was
enough.
I mean, itself it was sensitive. We should have responded as quickly as possible, but it is widely known more than other emergencies simply because.
But let's get that first. We spent 380 billion shillings on foreign treatment. We can't spend 7 billion on.
Yeah. The issue on how they qualify to get that treatment is an emergency in itself. And let me finish.
Let's get some perspective. This man is an NRM. Let's get some perspective.
Now, there are also supplementaries. They are also supplementaries. This is money that had not been budgeted for. Yes. I mean, you go beyond your ceiling. And the same supplementaries are approved by the same parliament where he sits. So in other words,
juggling, Honorable Mr.
The moment you approve a supplementary that consumes your road, then you have given up your road. Because the government spends the cash that is available. So the moment you consent to that supplementary, then that cash goes.
You are going into pedantics now.
You don't know what to call the process, but that is
pedantic. Let's get Honorable Simon and Peter Aleper. Talk to us. You come from Moroto Municipality.
There is also power.
Are you happy with the way the budget is spent? The way the budget
don't tell Paul rumors here. Thank you, Edmond. Good evening, our listeners. Just from where my brother Rwomushana has made his point, that's no surprise. That's what he can say. You know where he belongs. But coming from Moroto Municipality, and Moroto Municipality being part of Karamoja, which has been singing this good song of NRM, I want to sound unusual this evening. My brother talked about the road. I will not dwell so much on the road. It's obvious, even in the budget now that we are talking about, budgets are not driven by guesswork. They are driven by plans. You must have your plans. What are our priorities? What are our plans? You must even project that one time you may have an emergency. So you cannot convince and say, no, you see, cash. Even if it's cash, you must plan for that. But back to Edmond, to the issue of Karamoja. As I assured you that I want to sound unusual this evening, Karamoja is one of the regions in this country that has remained loyal to NRM government. Very loyal, like the way a catechist is loyal to the altar. But unfortunately, and what is very disappointing, is when you look at the trend of events, Karamoja seems to be vanishing from the Bible of NRM. Road given is one of them. It's the only region where you find pregnant mothers walking for 20-30 kilometers.
Pregnant mothers.
Health unit. That's the only region.
Kampala to Entebbe.
Education still 12%. Where are we? From the time the British left us. What is our affirmative action? Rwomushana, I know you will talk because you have the microphone of somebody. Infrastructure. The only region with impassable roads as we talk now is Karamoja. As we now talk here, the lorries are still stuck. Karamojans are waiting for supplies from Bale, fresh foods, from Lira, from Soroti. Where are we? The only region where a survey has never been done, and yet God has given us all the natural resources, minerals.
Even gold you have.
Gold, all, that's what I'm talking about, all the natural resources. The only region. Look at the map of Uganda. Why Karamoja out? And the NRM. My government, my party. I want Rwomushana to listen to this. The region has been under the wars.
Yes.
Why should the government abdicate its responsibility? I can assure you there is nowhere in the world that NGOs can develop a community. They only give lip service, counseling. If you have been stressed, they counsel you and you remain now happy, but you have nothing. This is the situation in Karamoja. This is the only region where, on record, Karamojans all over Uganda are begging on the streets. On record. If you have never heard about this, they're here in Kampala. The first time in the history of our governments. It's under NRM, after 27 years of loyalty. It's the only region you will never hear a cabinet minister. It's the only region you will never hear of somebody appointed as a permanent secretary. It's the only region you will never hear somebody has been appointed as under secretary, not even a commissioner. So where are we? Where are we?
I mean, person here.
No, but they have I understand.
Deputy minister, we're talking about full time. Why you take decisions? Rwomushana, please, you can't take decision when you are just a deputy. You consult your boss.
I think the
only region, there was 2 days ago a report launched by Minister of Finance. When you look at the poverty indices, 76%.
67% of the, you can say for every 10 Karamojong, okay, if you throw a stone, because for every 10 of them they are poor,
yes,
it will land on a poor person.
Yes.
Yeah, just put
the
10 of them.
Poverty is very high.
7 of them are
poor. The rest of Uganda.
And West Nile is doing well because they say although they are poor, there is a sparring, there is a kind of a emerging growth. Why? Because a bit of power and there is a macro. There are certain critical infrastructure, the points of growth.
Yeah.
And I know this is happening because there is infrastructure now linking the West Nile region to Congo, to Southern Sudan. There are those opportunities. But we are, but are you aware that Karamoja is nearer to Sudan than West Nile in terms of you see about 192 kilometers road periods to new site. Eastern Equatoria. To new site, we are the nearest actually to Juba. It's not Karamoja.
Okay, very briefly, some things that you think the government should do if they have to do it. Three things they should do for Karamoja.
One,
that they can do in the next 1 year.
The roads.
The roads one.
Number two is affirmative action for
education. Number three
is the security. You see, with the disarmament, the president we have an agreement we signed with the government. An motion is passed by this Parliament of Uganda, that remove all illegal guns, fight everything to do that, but we shall guarantee you security of person and property.
All right. Well,
you see, cars are being stolen. And guarantee. I think you better. Actually, government is even backtracking on disarmament.
Okay.
Soldiers have been taken away from the region.
Nobody should get excited here that the guns have been removed. It's an obligation of government to secure the property and lives of the citizens.
Right.
So we should not get excited that the guns have been removed, and so now we have achieved. But of course, we appreciate what the government has done on that.
Do you need belly dams? Very briefly, how badly do you need belly dams in one sentence? Talk to us about. Do you need belly dams very badly in Karamoja now? Would they?
The question even doesn't need to be asked because it's obvious that region needs water.
The question is, what have these MPs also done? Let me know household poverty.
It's all right.
Let's move forward. Charles is all about MP.
Very briefly.
I think the perspective I want to offer is that we seem to treat Karamoja as an area where we can superimpose our policies. We haven't appreciated the core values that make a Karamojong a true Karamojong.
Right.
For example, we're emphasizing, I want to read a place where you read today's newspaper tomorrow.
Right.
A place where cassava stems that were brought for farming were put on the roadside and are rotting because the Karamojong doesn't appreciate. You've got to appreciate their culture of pastoralism and harness that to make them develop.
There used to be a saying that the place is so remote. They read the news today, hear it tomorrow. Mr. Chibinya.
What the members of Parliament have said, I think is true, and we are concerned as Ugandans, and for sure there should be effort to address these issues at the highest level. But that said, it's not entirely true what my brother Mr. Opiyo is saying, that all the solutions on Karamoja are being imposed, because the budget process now in Uganda, as the Vice President or the Chairman of the Committee should know, is participatory, starting from local governments and so forth.
Well, but the implementation, they put on the paper,
there are budget conferences, and people all over in Uganda, whether in Kalangala or in Kaburasoke or in Nyakati Spirit, do give their views about what they want in the budget.
Right.
So it's not true that everything is imposed.
Yes. Okay. Let's move forward from Karamoja to Kampala, since there is peace, like you said. The state of affairs in Kampala. Nicolas Opiyo, vendors of the streets, so maybe walk to work will have a thinner crowd this time.
What solution to deal with walk to work?
What do you think Kampala is going to be like in the next 4 years? We're seeing a lot of changes now. We even have buses.
Well, the truth be told, Kampala is one of the dirtiest cities in East Africa. I mean, if you go to Kigali, you go to Nairobi, you go to Dar es Salaam, I mean, you see a whole lot of a difference. And I think that any effort to make Kampala a more beautiful and more organized city must be embraced. In that respect, I think that KCC is doing a great job in trying to make Kampala a beautiful city. In fact, if you drive in some parts of Kampala now, there are still a few potholes, but I think that it's a lot cleaner. It's a lot, it's so much greener than it was, it was before. Some roads have been repaired, and I think some shanty structures, the vendors have been removed. The city is getting a city face for once, and I think it's important. But I think also in dealing with that, you've got to deal with the after effects, the secondary issues of where do you then dump this group of people you are evicting from the street, because you just can't throw them away, because if you throw them away, they become a threat, a security threat to the people who are going to remain in this town. They're going to become beggars, they're going to become vagabonds in this town. You've got to address the issue of how do you then deal with the folks who have been earning their living from the streets of Kampala.
All right. Charles Romsey, of course we have the taxi drivers, the buses are coming, we have 100, they've reduced the traffic jam, 400 yet to come.
What would happen if we shifted Kamparans to German cities, to Paris, to London?
Yes.
Would they remain clean? So is the problem of Kampala's filth, of Kampala's garbage, Kampala's management problem, or it is the problem of the residents of Kampala?
What's your prognosis?
Yeah, the problem is it is the irresponsibility of the residents of Kampala. We're extremely, very, very irresponsible.
Yes.
And therefore, yes, I mean that's the fact.
They eat matoke instead of chapati, so there's a lot lot of
you see the way we dispose of garbage. The way we dispose of garbage. I walked through Kororo, the Kororo here.
Yes.
And you see some bit of sanity.
Yes.
You don't see garbage everywhere, but there is where you go and you find life extremely very intolerable.
Right.
Now, so the problem is of the residents. We need to change our attitude on how we manage Then another problem is rural urban migration. We need to work on our rural areas, make them productive, so that instead of having people shift to the urban areas to look for a livelihood, they remain in the villages and do production.
We've given the districts. Next is going to be election.
I don't know. That's an area which we need to start. How do we make there is rural electrification? We need to put more industries in the rural areas. We need to have economic activity, vibrant economic activity.
Mr. Chief,
those come as a consequence.
We should change our diet, begin to eat.
Look, we all want a good society. We all want a good society, but the question is, how do we go about it?
Yes, tell us.
Because look, when we try to, again, the word to use is mimic what's in Europe without knowing how it happened.
The cleanliness. We should not mimic the cleanliness.
Look, what happened in Europe, for example, as we are, as it is now, they have options for their people.
Yes.
For example, Paris, or you mentioned London, or whatever, they have industries. They have vibrant industries, they have vibrant service sectors to employ their people. And every year they tell you that unemployment is 8%, that's a crisis. But here in Uganda, Kampala, about 80% of our people are in the informal sector. And look, these are very hard-working people. Now, is it their problem that they're in the informal sector?
Government's problem.
No, it's not much more complex. But the point is it the problem of that lady called Sumini or Beredine or whatever, who is working hard? She's not on welfare.
Yes.
She's not on welfare.
Yes.
So the point is, secondly, you find that the urban concept you're trying to handle now is a colonial model. Because people would say that in the 60s and the 50s, Kampala was clean. True, it was
a
clean,
much smaller city,
but it was clean because all the revenue went into these minorities,
Capital.
whatever. Yes, to service
so
the
they can
interests
think
of the colonial administrators and the Indians. You know, that's where all the money went. There was no money that was spent in Katwe or in Wandegea. That's why there were slums. So the point is that, and then the African as an urban person only began coming to Kampala during Idi Amin, when the Indians were chased out. And then there was no good management. Now, is it the Ugandan fault that there was no good management during Idi Amin's time, for example?
Honorable Aleper. Yeah, Edmond, on the same.
So there should be a human face. There should be a human face in the management of this reform.
How do they do it? I just want to.
Human.
What Jennifer must see.
We should not. They should not just act like a butcher. She's even giving us a butcher with a pipe cutting. Whatever.
I just want to begin by disagreeing with what my brother Rwomushana said, that it's because the people are irresponsible. That is not correct.
Yes.
I can assure you, the policies we put in place matter a lot. Even this man or woman who comes from the village, when he or she comes to the town and gets a certain culture, we will follow that. What policies have we put in place? Now Moses is trying, we are the very ones who are pulling her left and right, threatening her and sending text messages of death. Now,
stealing a briefcase.
Yes. So how do you have a city which is organized? Oh,
she has given us buses.
Yes. Sure, she has gone. Now, we have compared.
I think it's also on one side.
We have compared our Kampala to the rest. Yeah, sure, it is true. When you go out, you really admire. Look at Rwanda here. Kagame put a law in place. Should you be good? Throwing.
There's trouble for you waiting.
There's trouble. You go inside. All about here now.
Stopping you from inviting your children here today.
No, not about you see, Rwomushana, you need to discuss politically. Not about bring children to beg. This is the city of Uganda and the Ugandans. The situation is very clear.
Beloved,
you are free to move anywhere.
I think it has one disease, lack of planning. You know, we are happy to be in the center and think about one street. But beyond that street and beyond that street and beyond another street, you find it's like a dumping ground.
Yes.
Why is the land use plan for the city? You find you will put your house, you are now this residential area, and tomorrow you have a big bar, there is a big church, there is a big disco hall. Why is the land use plan? That this is industrial area, this is a service center, this is all of this. There is no plan. We don't have a plan. We are just building a big slum.
Let's
try to make it cleaner.
Nicolas doesn't want to. You need to raise your faith. Moses has given us buses. Maybe you haven't seen them. Maybe in which case you're probably.
He doesn't own any buses.
Let's move.
Buses and Pioneer Bus Company.
Well, let's talk about Sudan right now. Bombings amid diplomatic efforts. They had told us they are going to put down their arms. Sudan, that's Khartoum, Sudan. Now they're bombing South Sudan. Where is this likely to end, Nicolas?
Well, I mean, you don't have to ask. There's a huge possibility of a full-blown interstate conflict, emerging in that part of the world. That if we do not arrest it quickly by concerted regional and international efforts, this is going to have a very adverse effect on countries such as Uganda, Congo, Kenya, name them. So I think that what is emerging in Sudan is, you see, the problem is people thought that the problem of Sudan was actually just about, Arabs and Africans. No. In fact, people who are even Arabs themselves had lived under a regime that was completely secluded from the rest of the country. Yes. People who are even part of the same ethnic group in the north, we are being discriminated. You've had fallouts between people like Al-Turabi and that group. So I think the division of the country hasn't solved the problem of Sudan, and that is what is most likely going to lead into war in the Sudan. We must sort out the question of equity and equality both in the north and the south, because even if the south is peaceful, there's a possibility of
the north could implode.
Not just the north, even the south themselves have problems internally. There are tribal conflicts, that we may not look at now, but even if it is peaceful and you don't resolve the problem of equity and equality in the Sudan, there's going to be a big problem.
Charles Rwomushana, we should begin running the engines of our 6 jets. We need some more.
South Sudan.
They're running in Gulu, by the way.
The state of the Republic of South Sudan was never achieved primarily out of military victory. It was a negotiated deal. SPLA, including all its backers, those who now prefer it to fight, were never even able to capture Juba.
Yes.
On their own.
Yes.
Until they took the right path, the path of negotiations. So you have a state emerging out of negotiations. Now, out of the Buru, they start a war. They aggress.
What's the genesis of the war?
No, they aggress. They are the aggressors. They're attacking this Hegel. They are the aggressors.
Who's the aggressor?
The South Sudan. Let me finish my point.
Very briefly.
Yeah, the South Sudan government are the aggressors against the North.
All right.
Now, let them be beaten so that they realize the cost. Tomorrow, they are a little bit cautious.
I think 2 weeks ago, and I spent some time there.
Yes.
The problem is, I think I would agree with Opiyo. One problem is mandatory. One is economic. It arose from the oil business.
Yes.
The idea that the North could take unilateral decisions on the oil of Southern Sudan to charge $32 per barrel, or even to grab and steal oil. That was another issue. Second issue is that Bashir has a lot more problems. There is the Saragawa, there is the Darfur problem, there is Eastern Sudan problem, there is the Khartoum inside his own people. He cannot fight so many wars, and he should not open a war with the South.
I think Mr. Rwomushana is being very harsh to our brothers.
It's not very open a war with the South.
We have a deal.
We need peace.
I think we have to end here.
The solution is negotiations, but the point is that the CPA was good, but it was inadequate. Because, for example, boundaries were not demarcated.
Right.
That was a
Edmond, for me, what I want to say, what I want to say is we all need to promote dialogue. For now, when there's a problem in Sudan, I know this nature of conflict is resource-based. It is resource-driven. So I want the rest of the world, like Uganda, not to drums of war, like my brother.
We have to go. Thank you very much.
He will be flying away.
Our dear guests. Thank you, Honorable Emegio Achia, Member of Parliament for Pian constituency in Karamoja, Honorable Simon Peter Aleper, Moroto Municipality MP, Spokesman of all the NRM Karamoja Parliamentary Group, Charles Rwomushana, Honorable, former head of